the day before my birthday. That's cool.
Up when the chips were down. Tom's a very good person. He took me in for foster care about 10 years ago, and I'm indebted to him for life. Testing one.
My time.
Oh, well.
Yes, it's your time. Everybody got their blue book?
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the traffic enforcement training. I'd like to introduce our two instructors for this morning. To my immediate right, Dave Cansdale, 17-year veteran with the Rochester Police Department, 10 years in the Traffic Enforcement Division. To his immediate right, Mark Boudreau, 10 years with the Rochester Police Department, 5 years in the Traffic Enforcement Division. I'd like to begin by thanking them for coming out today and look forward to their training.
Thank you. For the people I haven't met before, there's a few faces that look familiar. I was out here about 3 years ago with, I think, Keith, Christopher, or Dean Feliciano. We covered the old ticket type UTSs. Now that we've gone to T-SLED, in fact, you yourselves, us, Buffalo PD, and I was in New York City also went to T-SLED at the same time we did. There has been some changes, not real big major changes. We're going to get into them step by step once I cover a few other items at this point. What I have here is our general order for uniform traffic tickets, and the policy, and as I say, Rochester Police Department will also mean you people. I'm just going to cover this real fast. Members of the Rochester Police Department will fairly and impartially enforce the provisions of the traffic laws. 2, number 1, prevent and or reduce the severity of motor vehicle accidents. Promote traffic safety and to encourage compliance with traffic laws and to relieve any possible traffic congestion. In other words, what we're talking about is we want a safe highway, safe roadways out there for everyone. One thing I want to cover just at this point as I'm looking at our general order is dealing with juveniles. You have a vehicle on your premise, you stop the vehicle for a traffic infraction, you approach the vehicle and you have a 15-year-old behind the wheel, which happens. It happens also. I was doing a road check a couple months ago. I had a 14-year-old driver, he looks small behind the wheel. Whoa, 14 years old, what do you do with him? In the Rochester Police Department, what we do, we would actually handle it as a juvenile diversion. Through our computer, through the dispatcher, we can check his record or her record and see if he has any prior contacts. If there's any prior contacts, then I would probably go, depending on the prior contacts, I'd probably handle it as a juvenile delinquent. Even though a juvenile cannot be charged with a violation, just a crime or a felony, or a misdemeanor and a felony. So if it was a first offense, what I would do is we have diversion forms that we carry in the police vehicle. We just do a diversion form. We take the child home to his parents, just let them know what exactly is going on. For you people, if you come across an offense where you do have a juvenile in the vehicle, I would suggest that you do call one of the Rochester police cars and let him handle it at that point, because he does have access to the records of any of the juveniles.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe TVB will hear cases on 15-year-olds because it's a civil proceeding. And we had one incident when an officer with our department that did write a 15-year-old went to court, TVB, and got a conviction. But it's our policy, 16 and above, to issue a traffic summons.
Don't forget, Traffic Violations Bureau is not a court per se, it's an administrative hearing. Okay, so it is handled differently. It's an arbitration board, more or less. Any questions on why we enforce the law? It's pretty basic and common sense. Your sergeants want us to cover some of the officer's safety, more or less, and it's probably somewhat review for yourselves. You have the target vehicle here. Target vehicle will represent the violator. Okay. As you stop the violator, which is very important, the position of the police vehicle. Okay. This is probably some refreshment. This would be refreshment for you people as far as I'm sure you've had this before. Generally, you want to park the vehicle at least one car length between the target vehicle and the police vehicle. Okay, you always want to park the vehicle off to the left or out into the roadway to provide a safety zone for not only the violator, but for the officer's sake, in case the violator attempts to get out of the vehicle, which sometimes they will. If the individual is trying to exit this vehicle, if you have time to get on the PA system, do you have PA systems? No PA
Not
systems?
yet.
Try to verbally tell them to remain in their vehicle. It should be with them in a minute. If you're trying to call out with the violator to your dispatcher. If it's nighttime, you have the shakedown lights and your spotlight, because obviously you want to throw that on the rearview mirror of their vehicle and in the area where the motorist is sitting or passengers. Do you have shakedown lights on your
Yes.
vehicles? Okay, excellent piece of equipment. As you approach the vehicle, daytime or nighttime, you want to make sure that the trunk is shut. Something of officer safety. You never know if somebody's in there and the trunk's going to pop up. Put your hand on the back lid of the trunk as you're walking up. Make sure it's secure. You want to watch all the hands of any of the passengers, primarily the driver. Okay. Very, very important. License, registration, insurance card.
Thing is very important is make sure you call out or let somebody know where you are and what you have. The last thing you need to do is get into an argument or a fight with somebody and try and let other people know where you are. Because, seconds can mean your lives. Sometimes somebody's trying to look for you and knowing where you are. It's very important. No matter what you have, anytime you get out of the car, just let somebody know where you are.
And if there's a backup that can be sent through your dispatcher, or if the other officer hears you call out with a violator, by all means head that way. Back up your fellow officer. Real fast, as far as conversation with the motorist on a traffic stop. Explain to the motorist why he's being stopped. Again, you've asked for the proper documents. Do not get in an argument with him. It's not worth arguing over, did I do it or didn't I do it? Don't hold trial out on the street. And a lot of people will try to do that. So basically, maintain your cool, don't argue. Explain why the individual is being stopped, and return to your vehicle and issue the summons.
Try to get the documents first before you get to explain why you're stopped. Somebody asks you why I'm stopped, and you see the license, registration, and insurance card, and I'll tell you why you're stopped. You start talking why I stopped, and then you're going to get into a confrontation argument, and you probably never get the documents.
If there's an identity problem on the motorcycle, I left my license at home, but he pulls out his wallet. Good indication if the individual has his wallet, he says, geez, my license is at home. That should be a key right there that, in fact, may be suspended or revoked if we find out a lot. If the guy's giving you a name and you have that gut feeling, it's not him, have him exit his car, put him in the police vehicle. If he has a passenger, go talk to the passenger. What's this guy's name? Excellent way to find out if he's telling the truth.
Well, you would maybe just clarify it a little easier. If a guy tells you he doesn't have a license or a female, don't even bother with the name, what your name is. Just give me the registration if you have that. Now bring the person back to your car. Obviously, frisk them for officer safety reasons. Put them in the car, ask them what the name is. Ask them how old they are. Then ask them what his address is and go real quick, what's your date of birth? Now a guy might be thinking, well, what's my date of birth? What date of birth can I use? 9 out of 10 times, your date of birth and age aren't going to coincide. You're going to be way off. Now go back up to the passengers, ask them what this guy's name is. They're probably going to give you a real name. Go back to the guy. Now tell him what we have. We have 2 different names. You can tell me your real name or give me a name you want. I'm going to have you sign the tickets. If the person signs the tickets, I'm going to tell them. If you sign the tickets, tell me who you are, and you're not, I'm going to lock you up, 1 for forgery and 2 for criminal impersonation, which I've done. You'll probably get the person's real name, and he'll probably tell you what the passenger told you. It's a real good trick of the trade I picked up. But the person tells you, well, what's your name? My name's John Doe. Now everybody in the car knows what to say. Now you got nothing.
A little bit of investigation on your part. Discretionary, as far as issuing a summons, are you going to issue a summons to everybody except? Do you want to issue a summons to everybody except? You call the shots, it's up to you. You stop an 80-year-old woman who's here visiting her son, and she goes through a stop sign, obviously not on purpose, just not familiar with the area or something. Would you issue a summons for someone or something of that type? Some may, some may not. I would. But it's all discretion. It's like anything else, you know, use good common sense when issuing tickets. Obviously, if the woman is 80 years old and she is involved in an accident and blows a stop sign, maybe it would be a good idea to issue a summons. Maybe the DMV may retest it for everybody's safety. Anything you want to cover in addition to officer safety and discretion on tickets, feel free to jump in here.
For nighttime people, you have to, I don't know if anybody here works nights, afternoons, all right? You have spotlights on cars, I take it, okay? You have to realize that don't walk in your beam and a light. You become a very easy target. You silhouette yourself. If you have to, walk on the, I walk on the outside of the beam and a light, and the guy don't even know where you're coming from. And you can walk right up to the car, and he don't even know you're there, because he's looking to that beam and that light, looking for you to walk down. So walk out, make sure there's no other cars coming, and just come around on an angle. This way you get a clear view at the person. And don't walk in the beam and light, because again, you're silhouetting yourself. You know, you can get killed just as easy as we can. And you don't carry weapons other than, you know, your baton and radio.
A two-man vehicle, your partner probably wants to either, at the first point, stand right there, or he's got total view of the vehicle, particularly if there's passengers in the vehicle, and it's only just the driver. I would recommend standing right here.
Make yourself known on the side. Let them know that there's two of these now. Officer safety is a very key thing here in traffic stops. A large amount of people are killed as a result of traffic stops.
Like Mark said, you people don't have weapons. You get out of the vehicle, you look just like police officers. You're fully dressed in a uniform. People, you know, they don't realize that, you know, you're peace officers and that you don't have a weapon. So you have to be extremely careful. Watch those hands at all times. Glove compartments, when the individual's going to the glove compartment. Watch what's in there. Back up a little bit. You want to stand, the window's right here. Always stand right here. Don't stand past that center bar on the side of the vehicle. Make the individual look back towards you. Don't stand up here. You know, you see it all the time. You see people standing here. You see officers kneel down alongside the window. Bad habits. And you develop bad habits as years go on. You tend to forget what you learned in the beginning.
The only time I ever move up is people have their center console and they open it up and they're in here with their hands. You can't see. Somebody just move up and look through the windshield at their hands. You know, if you see their hands, they're not going to kill you. You know, if you can see something, their hands have to kill you, whatever they're going to have. If you're back here, you're not going to have a vantage point. Just simply move up. Then when you get the documents, come back here. Again, make this guy uncomfortable. Have him look over his shoulder.
Be sure to always, like I said, position your vehicle to the left, so you have that safety zone in there for yourself, or if the motorist decides to get out of the vehicle. You stop the motorist for a violation, and the motorist gets out of the vehicle, and here comes a car, and the individual struck. Who's liable?
We officer making stop.
Exactly, and the state, or the city, whatever. You know, you caused this situation to occur. He's out in the street and he gets hit. You're going to swing. More so today than ever because of all the civil liabilities. Let's see what else. Any question on officer safety? It's pretty basic. It's something that you just have to perform and develop those habits all the time. Very, very important.
Always expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
It can happen.
You stop. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's-
You stop the vehicle for going through a stop sign. Don't forget, you want to check the registration and the inspection stickers. How's the taillights? How's the tires? Make a visual check of the vehicle. You can get more than one summons out of a traffic stop if you're looking for numbers. And then again, it's a discretionary call on your part.
The blatant violations, I definitely write. The ones that are serious violations, the ones that people just totally disregard, speed limit, like it said, you might have a speeding problem, people go 45, 50 miles an hour down these roads. You know, it's uncalled for. If you can pace it, if you can do it on visual observation, write it. Probably somebody out won't give a warning on it.
I'll see if it's excessive. I don't know if you're aware of it, without radar, you got a roadway. As a police officer in the state of New York, there is case law as far as making estimates. If that's me right there, I have a vehicle going down the roadway, and I estimate them at 50 miles an hour. I'm based on a police officer's estimate, you can write a ticket and get a conviction in court. But the police officer, in fact, has to prove that he's estimated speeds of vehicles prior to this incident. And he has a deviation of within 5 miles per hour, plus or minus, comparing these estimates to certified calibrated instruments such as a speedometer or a radar instrument. So in a case like myself, I've been operating radar for over 10 years, Mark's been doing it for over 5. In a scenario like this, I no doubt in my mind I could get a conviction. As far as you people, I don't know how you'd want to work it. But as far as a pace, we have a...
I don't know if you might want to set up some kind of program or something where you can train your officers on visual estimates and see who's qualified to do visual visual speed tickets. No, it's very simple. Get within 5 miles an hour plus or minus in the speed of the vehicle. Because a lot of times you won't be able to get a pace on a car, but you know they're well in excess of the speed limit of 20. So what do? You don't write them. If you can qualify yourself as an expert in speed estimates, there's no problem. And how to testify to it.
On a pace, what's the longest stretch that you have over here? Quarter of a mile? Half a mile?
Almost half mile.
Almost a half mile. So in fact, you could get a pace if you had the opportunity. On a pace, what you have to prove in court is generally you estimated the speed of this vehicle. So you're going down a roadway, say on a T intersection, and say you're here and you're rolling and this guy goes by you, and say he's doing 45 miles an hour. You're able to get in behind him for a period of, a stretch of maybe 1,000 feet or less. What you have to testify to is, in fact, I observed the target vehicle, I estimated a speed of 45 miles per hour. You pulled in behind the target vehicle, your police vehicle, you maintained a pace of, say, 7 car lengths for a period of approximately 800 to 1,000 feet, at which time your certified speedometer on your police vehicle read 43 miles an hour. And he testified to the fact that it's a 20 mile per hour zone. So he's doing 23 over the posted speed limit. Definitely get a conviction at TVB. So your main thing is your estimate, the distance between the target vehicle and the police vehicle, and the distance that you paced them and maintain that 7 car length.
And what you also need is a speedometer deviation sheet.
Which we have, and we're gonna do your speedometers after this class.
You should have them done every 6 months.
Yeah, every 6 months they should be done. Any question on a pace? If you have somebody flying down the road, you don't want to just look the other way.
You people can estimate speeds. How long have you been driving? You know, 20 years, 15 years?
I'm 45
You know how-
years old. I've been
you know what
driving
20 miles an
since
hour
16.
is. It can be done.
Any questions on pacing? It's an easy ticket, if you think about it. We're going to get into note taking and some testimony over the Traffic Violations Bureau, but I think what we're going to cover right now are the new T-sled tickets, which I don't think there's a lot of change to them other than the codes. Why don't everybody pick up their little handout that I gave you? Who's your brother wrote the ticket yesterday?
Officer Robbins.
Okay. Did a pretty good job, left a couple of things out. But it's okay, our guys do it too. First couple of weeks, we had a sergeant reviewing all the tickets and making the corrections. You know, after you do a few, it's like doing anything else. Okay, we're going to do this real basic. We want to just follow along with the
Is anybody not done? That's not done?
Okay, so you all have a fair working knowledge of it. This may be a little repetition for you then. Okay, for number 1 on the ticket for us, it says police agency, we have RPD. We're told by the state to put RPD. I write in Rochester myself, Rochester Police Agency. Rich says that
But you might
You
want
don't
to
put
use
anything.
RPC safety on top.
We could, we were given the option of writing something or not writing something
Right.
from DMV.
Okay.
So,
maybe it's just probably better to leave it. If you put RPC, it might look like RPD. And you might have-
RPC safety?
RPC safety probably would be better if you decided to do that. Okay, number 2, the motorist name. Print the motorist name directory style. In New York State, it appears on a driver's license in this format as last name, first name, middle initial. Some states, the licenses would be like mine would be David M. Cansdale rather than Cansdale David M. You come across that occasionally in some states. So we read the license before you start filling out the ticket. Should the ticket be issued to a pedestrian, bicyclist, or passenger, enter his name as if he were the driver in the same sequence. Now, when would you write a passenger? Seatbelt violation if he's 16 or older, okay? In the front seat. If he has a driver's license, ask, Mr. Jones, you're a passenger in the front seat, you're over 16, do you have a driver's license? Yes, I do. May I see it, please? Then just take that and put that information down. That's generally what I do. Motorist address, print the address exactly as it appears on the license, or as given. Be sure to include the zip code. Change of address, you get a lot of change of addresses. You got to flip the license over on the back and see if there's a new address, and then you're going to have to ask them about it. Where are you living now? Have you notified DMV on the change of address? Generally, people don't. But if they don't, I usually use the old address. If they have, I'll use the new address. And that's written on the back of the new photo licenses. Motor identification number, the issuing officer shall enter the number, also known as a header number, as it appears on the license. Should the driver possess an out-of-state license, the ID number should be entered exactly as it appears on that license. If the ticket is issued to other than a licensed driver and no motorist identification number is available, this box should be left blank. Here we go again with a seatbelt violation. 16-year-old front seat, doesn't have a license, you leave it blank. Some of the states on the identification number, you'll notice it'll be their social security number. State, in this box, the issuing officer shall enter the 2-character alpha code for the state, province, or other area of jurisdiction by which the defendant's driver's license is issued. Okay, that's on your packet here. On the second page, it'll give you all the abbreviations for the states. That's pretty self-explanatory. Shouldn't have any problem with that.
Hi, you called, me to call the operator.
Number 7 would be the license class. Enter the class of the motorist New York State driver's license exactly as it appears on the license. Example 1, 2, 5, or 7. If the ticket is issued to an individual whose license has expired, enter the date of expiration in the box, number 29. Okay, so you go down to box 29, which is description of violation. Okay, if the individual's license is expired, DMV wants you to enter the expiration date in that box.
In box number 8, the date of expiration we all know is on the birthday. And what you can do is simply put the year of expiration in there, and the date of birth follows in the second box from the right. The license class, back to number 7, if they're unlicensed, they want you to put UN, and you'll see it on
Box
the...
6. It'd be, where it says licensed state, number 6, you put
Okay.
UN, unlicensed.
You put UN, and it's on the inside flap, the last, on the tag book. Way down at the bottom, unlicensed, unregistered. Number 10, the date of birth, use 6-digit numbers. If it's 1/14/58, they want you 011458. Female or sex, yeah, self-explanatory.
And to touch on the date of birth, some of the out-of-country licenses I've come across, which is very rare. A lot of times the date of birth will be like October of 46. They will not put the actual day of the birth. So then you have to get out of the car and you have to ask them. Come across that a couple times, Jim.
Box number 11, only check off commercial vehicle if it's in excess of 26,000 pounds, not if it's a pickup truck. If it's a bus or hazardous material, is that a violation?
No, just
Or-
hazmat carrier, it should
Okay.
be a tanker or something with a placard on the side. Okay, the bus must have over a capacity of 15 people, which is important to be classified as a bus. As far as 26,000 pounds for a commercial vehicle, you're not gonna come across it that often on your, within your jurisdiction, I would think.
You have buses that come on complex?
So would you have to have to?
We have RTS buses, and then we have a state bus, which runs the bus route.
Okay, if it has over 15 people on the bus, capability of carrying over 15, then in box 11, you have to check the box of plus.
The plate number of the vehicle, as it is on the license plate. If it's no plate number, just leave it blank. Box 13, the registration state. Again, on the inside cover of the flap of the tag book, they tell you what letters for abbreviations to use. The registration type, if it's a passenger, they want PAS. It's commercial, COM.
You can take it generally right off the registration. It gives you
Motorcycles are MOT. The color of the vehicle, again, they have a breakdown of colors. On the front cover of the flat, again, it's off the registration. If it's black, they don't want you to put BLK, they just want BK. Blue, BL. Again, it's on the registration. If it's a color, multicolor, if it's white over black, they want you to WH/ over BK. It's a combination where it's not over and under, they want you side to side BK/ WH. The vehicle types, again, it's on the front cover flat of the tag book. I'll tell you what to put there. If it's a passenger car, they want 1. If it's a motorcycle, 3. If it's a pickup truck, 5. There's nothing on here for vans, and I assume that that falls under the category of all others for 9. You might want to make a notation somewhere in your notes.
You
what it was.
no longer put down sedan, suburban. It's all coded, I believe. You put it down sedan. It's no big deal, you know. But it's the computer and there's a Brackport that these tickets go to. Obviously, kick it back, or the girl or guy it's entering. It's gonna have to make a correction.
Box 17, self-explanatory, what year, make of the vehicle it is. Box 18 is the operator, the owner of the vehicle. If you write a passenger, I check off that box accordingly. If the operator was the owner of the vehicle, I check off yes. If the operator wasn't the owner of the vehicle, I check off no.
On a weekday, either MON, TUE, it's a 3-digit or 3-letter abbreviation. You don't want to put MO for Monday, you want to put what they require. Date of offense, generally if it's 1 through 9, you want to put a 0 in front of it, like 02, should be for February. Or if it's the second day of the month, it'd be 02, 88. So you're not going to mistake putting a 12 or a 22. Time, enter the time of the offense occurred, AM or PM, so actually it's just the A or the P before the M that's indicated on the ticket itself. The street name, enter the street name or route number and the approximate number for the address or cross street.
I guess all your violations 1600 South Avenue?
No, we use the institutional streets. We have 3 main streets: Nat, Troutman Drive, Southwood Drive, and Gateway Road.
Does that cover all of them?
On the grounds, yeah.
Okay. You don't write off the grounds, do you?
Occasionally, we'll write a red light at Southwood and Elmwood, in front of the Terrence building, or possibly south of Elmwood.
Are the roads on premises, is that considered state roads?
Considered state roads within the city of Rochester.
But
For
they're
purposes
publicly
of-
maintained by,
By our
State
own
of New York.
staff, yes, DOT.
the highway type, the reason I was inquiring about that, they tell you what code to use. If it's on premise And if it's considered a state road, you write off 2 for the highway type. Highway numbers, you probably won't come across that. You write in a highway number. An example would be 490. It's an interstate. You write highway type 1, highway number 490. So, like that. I don't think you're going to come across that.
Well, these roads on this premise won't be considered state road, code 2. It'd be.
They might be a state road
I would go.
if it's state premise.
I think for 6, I think I used 6 on my
You can use
example
6, yeah.
ticket.
But I'm not
I think
sure if it's considered state road or not. You know, it might be something to look into. I don't know.
Is it plowed and maintained by New York State?
New York State employees that work here. It's a great
City of
area.
Rochester does it.
Great. Yeah, I'd go with the 6.
I would,
Yeah, you can. That's why I wasn't sure. Just state road. Box 25, we circle C for city, fill in Rochester. County of, use a 4-digit number or 4-digit abbreviation, MONR.
I believe for ticket head.
It's here, Monroe written in.
Not picking it, just.
Location codes 2801. Description of, or violation next. Check off New York State vehicle and traffic law, if that's what you're writing. If it's any other law, box to the right of it. Write in the appropriate subsection. If it's suspended license, it's 511-1A. 511-1? It's on 1A?
1A.
1A?
It's been changed.
Been changed?
That was that new addendum when we got updated
3 years ago.
Write in the description of the violation. It can be short, you know, red light, stop sign. If it's for a registration violation, they want you to write in the VIN number of the vehicle. If it has to do for illegal plates, unregistered, failed to fix, no insurance. You can write in the description of violation, no insurance, and they want the VIN number somewhere on this ticket. You can usually put it right in the same box of the description of violation, or write it along the side of the ticket, VIN number, and they want it. This is for Traffic Violations Bureau, for people to provide proof of insurance. You go by your VIN numbers, not plates. If it's a speed, the mile an hour and the 20-mile-an-hour speed zone. You sign under where it affirm under penalty of perjury. Sign your name. The offense type, make sure you check off the appropriate box if it's a traffic violation or a misdemeanor. You don't have to worry about officer operating radar. That's for a traffic detail where somebody's running radar and there's a pickup car. The officer operating the radar has to sign that ticket. Date of affirmation, again, use 6-digit numbers, 2 in each block.
Two. 34. We're at 34. Okay, your NCIC number. Ours is 2701. Yours is 2770. 02770. Very, very important. That indicates the DMV that the ticket is issued by your agency. As far as division, troop, precinct, zone, section, I'm under the assumption you people keep that blank, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that will apply to you. The officer's name, print the last name, first initial, middle initial. The officer that's issuing the summons. And your badge or shield number, we enter our IBM number, which I believe you people do also. Or is it a badge number or do you have an IBM number?
Our badge number and IBM number are the same.
Okay.
4-digit.
Okay, number 41 would be the, indicate the date of the summons returnable to court or traffic violations bureau. So it'd be your assigned court date, which I believe is on Thursdays at 10:30. It's a standard court date.
If it's a traffic misdemeanor, you circle city. Court be Part 1, PT 1 of Rochester. Be the Civic Center Plaza.
Or 150 South Plymouth Avenue, I believe it.
Yeah, you could, 150 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14614 for zip code. The date of appearance would be the next court date that's in session.
What's the zip code again?
146.
I don't know if you guys were informed of the same thing. I was informed by TVB that they were requesting the court appearance date be calculated 8 weeks in advance, as opposed to, it used to be 6 weeks,
Yes.
from the Thursday.
We have our own breakdown on our dates that we go by.
So it'd be for you people,
8
8
weeks.
weeks. How about the distribution of the ticket?
Yeah. That is basically the front cover of the ticket. And the only, how they're different is that you have to write in a lot of things now as opposed to the old tickets where you just check off.
Okay, as you issue the summons, obviously the ticket labeled traffic violations bureau is the one that goes to the motorist on any violation. After you issue the summons, on the white sheet where it says arrest type, you have to put that code in for what type it was. If it was radar, if it was an observation traffic patrol, it's 1, radar's 2, so forth and so on. Let's see. Okay, arrest type, it's on your little ledger here. Road check would be 3. Obviously, you don't run scales, so 4. So actually, probably patrol would be the code 1 for arrest type. Everybody familiar with that? Are you doing it?
Usually those copies are turned into me and I file those.
Okay.
Is that the second to last copy?
Yeah. That doesn't go to
The
Albany?
first 2 go to Albany through city court.
Because I thought arrest type was
Yeah, it's,
pertinent to DMV to know what.
How to
there's a radar
take
for
For a
Position.
traffic infraction?
yeah.
From my
Who told you to
instructions,
hang on to them? That's, I'm curious.
the guy that headed up TSLA, Ken Vogel, from TSLA DMV.
What you might want to do is contact Sharon Krupo and see what actual ones she files, or she forwards to DMV.
On the officer's handbook addendum, it says parts 1 and 2 with the carbon in between should be sent to the court of jurisdiction or TVB, whichever is appropriate. Would that be part 5?
That would be part 3.
Part you're talking about?
The Canary.
The arrest record, 4.
Part 4.
4.
Okay, it says arrest record. If the arrest is for a misdemeanor with associated traffic infractions and the motorist is going to criminal court, this part will be sent to the state police data entry site assigned to your agency. Otherwise, this copy should be turned over to the department representative.
That's a surprise to me.
So now misdemeanor traffic tickets you'll forward.
Right, to the state police in Brockville for data entry.
Okay. Any questions on your basic simplified ticket? That's what they call them. Any problems? Nothing. You're all gonna have to fill them out properly.
Remember the VIN numbers when you have to issue them, or write them in.
Unregistered, no
Swiss
insurance.
plates, illegal plates.
Fail to affix. Okay, your little registration sticker, section 403. So if you stop somebody, it's June, and they got last June's registration sticker on, which would be blue. In my opinion, they deserve a ticket for fail to fix.
Even though the vehicle is properly registered with DMV.
I don't have a razor blade. I haven't had time to change it, take it off, a year later. Section 403. So you must enter the VIN number, as Mark said, either in the description of violation or along the edge. No questions on the tickets? Okay.
It might be easier to pre-sign some. Get, the things that you can pre-sign are City of Rochester, location code,
County of Monroe.
County of Monroe, NCIC code, your name, sign your name. It makes it a lot easier when you have to fill it out, makes it quicker.
Traffic Violations Bureau located in Rochester. You can write in Rochester. I always pre-sign 10 or 12. Makes things go a little faster when you're out on the street. This little handy guide here is nice to have with you. If you have any questions on the box, just go through it real fast and hopefully it'll answer any questions that you have when you're filling out your summons.
Dave, do you circle the 167 Court Street on your goldenrod copy and instruct the motorist how to dispose of it?
Okay, nobody's ever told me to do it, but what I generally do is, I'll take my pen and circle Rochester, 167 Court Street. I don't know if anybody else does it, but I've been doing that since the beginning. Okay, when you issue the summons, generally how I explain the ticket to them, I'll explain again. I said you've been issued a summons for speeding. Okay, between now, within 10 days, you have to answer the summons. If you read the back portion of it, it'll explain the steps that you have to take. Any questions? Generally, they don't. Okay. And if you decide to have a trial, the trial date's assigned to them about it too. They're real self-responding. You want to touch Mr. Mears?
Is anybody not familiar with the aggravated section of the vehicle and traffic law as far as license operation?
Suspended or revocation.
When to write them, when not to write them, what to write them for? Anybody familiar with those? 511 section?
Probably very few.
Very few? Okay. Has anybody written aggravated unlicensed operations? I know you have.
Yes, I have also.
You remember what yours was for?
Fairly new to some.
Okay.
There's three.
What was that, right now suspended?
Yeah,
Their registration? The operating while suspended as far as the license or registration?
license.
511 section 1A. Whenever a license is suspended, it could be fail to answer, fail to pay, insufficient insurance,
Refund.
I'm trying to think of what they, there's pending court, unsatisfied judgment. I was trying to think of.
A lot of times people will renew their registration, they'll send in a check and the check will bounce.
You got unsatisfied judgment. These are basically what the suspensions of 511-1A. The elements, how you gotta have a conviction is that the person had knowledge that the license was suspended or revoked. If you go in there not having that information, you're probably not gonna get a conviction. Or if the person had reasonable knowledge that his license should be suspended, you'll get a conviction. See, a lot of officers go in there and this guy's got 5 suspensions and he can't establish a proof that the person knew it. You're gonna get a not guilty plea, likely. You might get a judge who might see that he should have knowledge that his license was suspended. These are violations. The 511-2A, you got 2 subs, I and I. You write this section, if the person is currently suspended, according to 511-1A, and he has a prior conviction of this section within the preceding 18 months. It's not for no license or unlicensed operation. It has to be aggravated unlicensed operation of motor vehicle. Third, he has to have a conviction within 18 months, and he has to be currently suspended for something of this nature. Anything other than alcohol. Now you got everybody on that? Come down to the second subdivisions, the 3 I's. The only element you need is that he's currently suspended or revoked for anything that has to do with alcohol. It could be a DWI, DWAI, driving under the influence of narcotics, or refusal to submit to a chemical test. If you have any of those 4 elements that he's currently suspended or revoked for, it now becomes a misdemeanor. Right? And it's a U misdemeanor
classified
right,
misdemeanor.
as opposed to an A or B. Everybody know when to write these? They're simple. The only time it gets confusing, I see people, is a problem with the 18 months. He's currently suspended or revoked with something of this nature. I mean, there's probably more than this. And he has a prior conviction of this charge within 18 months.
Okay, for this one here, 5111A, which is a traffic violation, they go to TBB. Aggravated second degree, they go to city court. It's a classified misdemeanor.
There are several other, I want to get up the subject because there's one more to go. There's a couple other sections of E&T that you can write as a misdemeanor charge as opposed to a violation charge. If the person knows that his license is suspended and he's still retaining it, it's a misdemeanor. I believe it's section 340 sub A, vehicle and traffic law. Felony to surrender, suspended license or registration. It's a misdemeanor if you want to get somebody. If the person is currently suspended for insurance, it is a misdemeanor for this charge. If that's all he got, if I stop Dave and he's suspended for insurance, I can charge him with a misdemeanor, take him to jail. And I believe it's section 355 of the B&T. If I get a book, I'll look on it later, just to make sure that's section. But you can write him for the violation and send it to TBB.
Which
It's a-
for your case would be easier.
Right. And it's a maximum $1,000 fine and 200, and it's a mandatory revocation of driver's license. So this is probably the hardest way to go for somebody to get a ticket. The last section, 5113A, okay, is the unclassified felony. And you probably won't come across this, but you might, people who party. You might want to come on campus, on the complex. If you happen to come across a person who's intoxicated, has anybody ever had that occasion?
Yeah.
You've had?
We've had employees go out
Okay,
to lunch and come back.
you can get them. They go to liquid lunch, they come back. If you happen to get somebody who's intoxicated, and you run his license and he's currently suspended or revoked for anything to do with alcohol, it now becomes a felony. If I stop Dave and he's revoked for DWAI, and I'm arresting him for a misdemeanor DWI, because that's all I have, he also gets charged with a felony, this one here. If he gets arrested a month ago and refuses to submit to a chemical test, and he's currently revoked for that, and that's all I have, and I stop him, and if I charge him for impaired, he also gets charged with a felony. You probably won't come across this too often.
And of course, if you come across anything that's a U misdemeanor or a U felony, you're going to call it one of our cars down.
Right. Call us down, and I believe the sergeant here probably knows the appropriate way to do things.
You may get an officer come down there, he may not want to handle this.
He may not know what to do. I would probably have to wait because I wouldn't know what to do either. This would be the first time. I didn't know he wrote this down here until today. So this is probably, you won't come across this too often. You'll probably come across this a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of these out. More, now that this law's been around for about 2.5, 3 years, we're finding a lot of seconds, an awful lot of them. I had one last week.
Registrations, suspensions, and revocations. It's a U misdemeanor. We have blank copies of supporting depositions.
You stop a motorist, you run a record check on his license at 1028, his license come back, a couple of returns, suspended for insurance lapse. It's a misdemeanor. There's a simple deposition, which you people have on hand now. Call one of our cars, arrest blotter. Either you can make a physical arrest, which I prefer that you probably wouldn't. And the UTS will act as a occurrence ticket and you go to court the next morning.
And again, if the person knows that his registration is suspended, and he doesn't turn in the certificate of registration or the plates, it's It's a misdemeanor, 340 sub A, being taken.
So if you get somebody like this, with 512, suspended registration, you're gonna, no doubt, have no insurance.
probably why it's
3 or 4
suspended.
tickets out of him. And you're gonna run his license, could be suspended. Chances are it will be suspended. Okay, you can make sure you get that, you can xerox a bunch of those, or retype them for yourself. Any question on this? You're gonna just address the violation more or less. Okay. You're gonna call an RPE car down for these two. And God only knows how they're gonna handle it with you. It's up to the officer.
You would issue the tickets, and they'll probably just assist with the paperwork.
If it's during the day, 6:30 to 2:30, if you wanna call one of us, one of the traffic cars, you can call us. We have 2 traffic cars at night that work 7:30 to 3:30 in the morning. Other than that, you have to get a district card.
Any questions on the aggravators?
You say that they have to know, right? Now, what, if you ask them if they know, obviously they're not gonna say yes.
You'd be surprised.
It depends how you ask them too.
Yeah, how you do it.
You have to interrogate them a little.
You know, a lot of times you get a person who'll give you a false name, and you get his real name. I had a kid yesterday. Who was yesterday? I had the same scenario. Got his real name. Yeah, this is my name. Now, as I'm waiting for my dad to come back, is your license suspended, revoked? Yeah. That's all you need.
What about if you do this and you stop somebody and,
And he says no?
no, say you stop them and you weren't able to run their plate because of the computer's down. Now, you give them for a stop sign or something, they pull away, and then you run away.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens to
You
us
can
too.
issue the ticket. You can go the next day, if you go to his house, send a certified mail or whatever, you know, you can probably follow up on it if you want. A lot of times you don't.
If the guy has no license on him, he says he has a license, you run a 27 check and the computers are down, write him a stop sign infraction and write him for no ops also.
5091.
Write him for no ops.
Presumptive evidence that you don't have a license if you can't produce.
So
So
it-
you registration.
Comes back suspended, at least you got him for no ops, you'll get a conviction too.
And don't write in for failure to produce, it's not a violation section. A lot of people write for failure to produce a registration or a license.
No such law.
It's 40118 for unregistered and 5191 for unlicensed.
Back up a little bit. If you've got somebody that has got a suspended license for failure to answer or suspended registration, and they still had the documents with them and they give them to you, should you give them back or should you take them and turn them to you?
I would give them back.
Okay, under New York state law, if an individual has a suspended or revoked license, we can take the license. We turn it into the property clerk's office,
Go that way.
and then they're supposed to send it to all.
Take the plates.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you would do it. You know, you probably would call one of our cars down to tow it,
Have them turn it into the
and
property clerk.
we would take the plates and turn them in for you.
The license, take the license and turn it in if you
Do
want.
that too, we hold everything as evidence. Or return back to DMV.
Because I mean, obviously, you wouldn't let the guy drive the car.
You can't. You can't tell the guy in one breath you're suspended, and the next breath, go home.
Something to bring up that's very important, these 2 classifications right here, 511.2, 511.3, if the vehicle this operator is driving is registered to him, you are mandated by state law to tow that vehicle. You have to tow it.
And that's the area, the unclassified misdemeanor felony, in which we would be calling
You'd be
911.
calling-
And we have an RPD car.
Call us.
Exactly.
And they would assist us with the blotter and the towing.
And we can't guarantee the results you're gonna get.
State law.
If you got all these new guys at district, you know, I can't tell you what they're gonna do.
Play-by-play.
Exactly.
State law, I can't remember what section is, right after 511, about towing. If you're the owner, and you're driving, and you're suspended or revoked, by law, we tow your car and we hold on to it until your license is cleaned up. And the summons that I issued you is answered. And you get charged each day that the car gets impounded.
And if the individual does not make his license, get his license valid within 6 months, the municipality can take action against that vehicle and sell it.
It's not a common practice, not an SOP thing.
No, they,
With our department, it can be done. We can hold the car any agency can hold the car until his license is cleaned up.
But, you know, the thing is, getting back to the districts, don't have a Highland section car come down here and say, this is what I want you to do because we told you this is what you have to do.
No.
You're gonna upset the officer. Tell him what you have, explain what you would like to have done, and let him take it from there.
We got a pretty good rapport with the local guys,
Yeah.
Town 274, and most of them are
Jimmy
pretty good.
Reed and.
Jim Reed,
Yeah,
Fred
they're good
Sanfani,
guys.
yeah. John Dodge.
But yet the first platoon people were these, the younger.
No, you don't have John Dodge.
It's downtown.
John's working downtown. But you know, I'll be very honest with you, you take a lot of policemen, you know, they're fresh out of the academy, he's out in the car first week by himself. He's had all this, but he's not very
You
good.
don't know what to do with it.
He's not sure. Until you
Write
do
the
it.
tickets. Get accustomed to them, until you're accustomed to them, and then, you know, if you feel you want to be give discretion, discreet warnings to people, if you feel it's appropriate, give a warning.
You're suspended and you're unregistered, I'm gonna use a discretionary, I'm gonna park the car and I'll let you walk. Don't drive the car, you come back and drive the car, I'm gonna take you with you. Do it that way.
If you're suspended, I write them. You gotta know if you're suspended. Unless someone else is using your license, but you don't know.
How much time?
We haven't done that.
Is there any way to check, doesn't DMV send them a letter or something stating that they're listed suspended? Isn't there a way to check that it was sent to them?
A lot of people move.
Well, isn't it usually certified, where they have to go to the post office and sign it?
I don't know how they do it.
I don't believe it's
I don't think they're
certified.
certified, it costs money.
Chances are they aren't gonna receive the notice of suspension. You can stop somebody and he's suspended for failure to pay a fine. And he says, geez, I didn't know I was suspended. Well, he's bullshit. Because he answered the ticket, he was found guilty, and he was fined, and he never paid the fine. And he knows, by reading the back of the ticket, he's gonna be put under suspension.
Especially
And
the
the
ticket.
judge,
I'm sorry.
the judge is gonna tell him, if you don't pay the fine within a 2-week period or by 4 o'clock this evening, your license is gonna be suspended. So he knows. So in a case like that, you know you're gonna get a conviction.
Especially the tickets issued in the city of Rochester, and it was answered or being disposed of at TVB. And they didn't pay the fine. You'll probably get a conviction, no problem.
Because if you sit over there on your Thursday court date, and the guy's found guilty, the judge will say, I'll give you 2 weeks to pay this. If you don't pay it by 4 o'clock, 4:30, on such and such a date, your license will be put under suspension. They always tell them that. So they know, they have knowledge of it. Why don't we take a 10-minute break?
All right.
Break this is pretty good, but we don't even back one officer, so. That's the hard one.
Okay, everybody ready? We're gonna get started?
What we're going to cover now is courtroom testimony at the Traffic Violations Bureau and proper note-taking at the time of the traffic stop.
Hey, has anybody not been to TVB yet to testify?
No.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, you put your arm down real quick, okay? Yeah, all right, it's an experience for the first couple times. You're real nervous. It's real simple. All right, now what we're gonna tell you what to do is just tell a story. That's all that happens.
What you people do, you're also you issue the summons, but you're also the assistant district attorney prosecuting the case over there. It's not as though you go to a town court and you get up on the stand and you have an assistant district attorney ask you questions about what happened. You present the whole case over there. So you're pretty much the arresting officer and the prosecutor for the people. The scenario is going to be at, was it Nab Troutman? In Southwood Drive. Okay, this individual right here, we're going to be parked here on the lawn. This will be the police vehicle. Okay. You got this target vehicle, TD. He's traveling in a northbound direction. Approaches and enters the intersection, passes through the intersection, say at At 15, you estimated a speed of 15 miles an hour.
Which is very important. Well, it can be, it's another criteria.
That's something you should know. So, went through the intersection at approximately 15 miles per hour, made no attempt whatsoever to stop at the intersection. You pull out onto the roadway, you stop him, this is where the stop's gonna be. Approach the motorist, ask for license, registration, insurance card, identifies himself as Mark Boudreau with a Class 5 New York photo license. What you want to do for note taking, what I do, on the back of my ticket on the officer's copy, I'll indicate up in the left-hand portion of the top, male white, male black, male Hispanic, whatever. Down in the left-hand corner, I'll put 5'11", blue eyes, photo license. Okay. If he has a photo license, you know there's not an identity problem when you go to court.
To touch on that, you don't have to be able to identify in court that that was the person from memory. If you establish identity at the time of the ticket, that's all you need. If you establish the identity by means of a Department of Social Service ID card, New York State photo license,
Birth certificate?
Let's just get to a picture. So we have a picture. It's a New York State ID, photo ID. You go to court 2 years later. Are you going to remember this guy? Probably not. Can you testify that you have established identity at the time of violation? Yeah. How? Photo New York State ID driver's license. That's all you need.
A lot of times you get cases that are 2 and 3 years old, 4 years old, and they're going to come in there and say it wasn't them. It might not have been, but chances are it probably was. And they're going to try to beat you. And if you have good documents, good notes, and in fact you produce a New York State Class 5 photo license, you're going to win.
The race is very important for notes, because there's no place on the front of the ticket for race. Female black, female white, female white.
Okay, so the stop sign violation occurred in your presence. You stopped them north of the intersection of Nat Troutman and Southwood Drive. As I said, you ascertained it was a Mark Boudreau with a New York State Class 5 photo license. You had proper documents for registration and insurance for the vehicle. So you issued a summons, which we all know how to do very accurately now. And the next thing is you want to put proper notes because we're going to go to court. All the notes you put on the back, every time you issue a summons, do it with the indication that you're going to go to court, you're going to go to trial, and you're going to get a conviction. Even though the motorist says, oh, I know I'm guilty, I'll mail it in. They're the people that turn around and you see them in court 6 weeks, 8 weeks later. So for the notes, on the officer's copy, I put male white, he's all by himself. If there was a dog in the vehicle, or if there's 2 kids in the vehicle, I'll put dog. I usually, up on the top, I'll put, say there was a female white in the front, and then maybe there was a male white child in the back, behind the driver. That's the way I'll have it on my notes, so I know exactly where the people were in the vehicle. Reason it's important to note, if you have other people in the vehicle, if in fact he was by himself, and he comes in with a witness, my wife, Jane, who was in the vehicle, hey, according to my notes, you're all by
You'd be
yourself.
amazed.
And they do it. They do it. So indicate exactly who's in the vehicle. You want to be able to describe this intersection when you go to court, because that's going to be part of your the first part of your testimony. That you work on this complex, everybody probably knows this like they know their own home, which is good. We go out in the city, we go to different intersections. It's very important to take good notes because we may not be that familiar with it.
The first 2 things you're going to be asked to do: identify yourself and who you work for. Okay, I'm officer. Is that the title you use?
Okay, in my most recent court trial, the judge asked you to identify yourself and your agency you're from, so I say my name is Sergeant Richard Hanley. I'm a New York State Peace Officer for the Office of Mental Health, assigned to the Rochester Psychiatric Center, 1600 South Avenue in the city of Rochester.
Beautiful.
That's,
Perfect.
that's what the judge wants,
So, you know,
to give it to him.
now you identify who you are. I'm officer so-and-so, it's exactly what he said, it's perfect.
Getting back to the notes, you're gonna, once you get sworn in and you describe yourself and your employment, you're gonna say on such and such a day, while assigned to patrol vehicle, do you have a number?
Yeah, 88 1566.
Okay, it's like your fleet number.
Right, that's
88, what is it?
1566.
1566. It's on such and such a day, while assigned to police vehicle, I marked blue, was it all white? A
It's
marked-
blue and white, that particular.
Marked blue and white vehicle, assignment 881566, and while directing my enforcement to the intersection of Southwood Drive and Knob Troutman
Right.
Drive, located on a complex of such and such, 1600 or whatever, however you want to describe this complex. Then you want to describe the roadway. Southwood Drive runs in a east-west compass direction. Knob Troutman Road Drive runs in a north-south compass direction, creating an X intersection. This X intersection is controlled by 3 separate standard stop signs, 8-sided, red lettering, with a red background with white lettering. Then you want to describe that this.
Very important to be able to describe the stop sign. You'll ask the judge, he'll tell you, describe the stop sign. You go, what are you talking about? It's a stop sign. Well, describe it. Okay, it's an 8-sided octagon sign, red backing, white lettering that spells stop. Okay, and the sign's approximately 3 by 3 feet and it's elevated approximately 8 feet above the roadway. They want that.
And clearly visible.
Clearly
You're
visible,
gonna- yeah.
unobstructed, no.
If you don't
graffiti.
identify a stop sign, if he asks you and you say, "It's a stop sign," if you can't, especially how many sides. We all know, it's octagon, it's 8 sides. They found people not guilty because officers couldn't do that.
Certain judges will play games with the
Right.
officers.
Mhm.
Judge Sanders.
Yeah.
So you describe the sign and you describe where it's located. This traffic violation occurred as Mr. Boudreau's vehicle was traveling in a northbound direction. It failed to stop at this intersection of Knob Troutman and Southwood Drive. This intersection is controlled by, as Mark stated, you describe the sign. Sign's located on the southeast corner and it faces in a southbound direction for northbound motors. Sign is
You don't
clear.
have to get into the other 2 stop signs.
It's not an
The
issue.
one in particular is located at this corner, facing southbound.
Sign is clear, unobstructed. You want to note that on your notes, because what if there's a tree here and it's summertime and there's leaves obstructing some of the view? I've had people come in for red lights or stop signs or different types of signs and argue the fact that leaves were covering the sign when in fact it was April and there was no leaves on the trees. Honest to God, they'll try everything. So make notations that the sign was clear and unobstructed. And if it is obstructed by leaves, you should have maybe forestry or somebody in this complex trim the trees so it's clear. Otherwise, you're going to have a serious accident. Are there marked crosswalks? Is there a stop? Okay, let's say the stop sign's up here rather than, there's your stop sign up there. Is there a marked crosswalk? Is there a marked stop line located at this intersection? If there is, you testify to it. You describe it, you explain where it is. If there's nothing, and you have a crosswalk right here, then you have an imaginary crosswalk. At no time did the target vehicle come to a stop. He continued through the intersection. I estimated the speed of his vehicle at approximately 10, 15 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, however fast he was driving.
You'll also need to know where you first observed him in relation to the sign.
Where were you? I was parked in my police vehicle at the southwest intersection. I was parallel to Southwood Drive. I was approximately 200 feet west of the intersection. I had a clear and unobstructed view of the intersection. And when I first observed the target vehicle, or Mr. Boudreau's vehicle, he's approximately 200 feet south of the intersection. And as he continued traveling in a northbound direction, he kept it slow, or come to a complete stop and travel through the intersection at approximately 15 miles per hour. As he continues through the intersection, I activated my emergency flashers, entered onto the roadway, made a left turn and stopped him a short distance north on at Trong Road.
Without losing sight of the vehicle.
Did you lose sight of the vehicle?
No.
I
Never
wouldn't think
lose
you
sight of
would.
the vehicle.
I exited my police vehicle, approached the motorist for his license, registration, insurance, which had produced New York State Class Photo license in the name of M. Boudreau. M. Boudreau is present today, standing to my immediate right as you're standing up in front of the judge of the hearing officer. In conversation with the motorist, stated to me that he never saw the stop sign, he's new to the area. At this time, I advised him he did enter the intersection, continue through the intersection, and made no attempt to stop, which time I returned to my vehicle and issued a summons for section 1172A of the vehicle traffic law failed to stop this time.
You can probably get this whole scenario on about 4 lines on your notes. When you get accustomed to writing notes. You use a lot of abbreviations.
But as far as taking notes, the main thing is you're telling a story like Mark said. I went here, I'm in this vehicle, I'm at this intersection, so you have to testify to that intersection. Describe it right to a T. Is this a if this is a two-lane divided by a double solid yellow, and this is two-lane double solid yellow, you gotta tell the judge that Nat Troutman Road travels in a north-south compass direction, providing 2 lanes of traffic northbound, 2 lanes of traffic southbound. It's divided by a double solid yellow line. And then you describe the intersection, where the sign was placed, where you were. Were you in the vehicle? Were you out of the vehicle? Were you in the back seat? Were you in the passenger seat? Were you driving the vehicle? Were you behind the wheel? I was stationed in a police vehicle as the operator of the vehicle.
If the stop sign is here, and there's no crosswalk or stop line, do you know where this car is supposed to stop?
Before the stop sign.
Okay.
Equal,
At the same.
equal to the sign, imaginary line from the sign out across the road.
Okay. How about at a point nearest before entering the intersection? If there's no stop line or crosswalk.
You can go past it as long as you stop before
Right. You
the.
have to stop at an imaginary line from this point to this point.
Be the south.
Before entering the intersection. So if the stop sign is 5 feet from the intersection, they can go beyond it, but stop at a point nearest before you enter the intersection. You see a lot of people, we got it happens all the time. Like this, if a car is stopped here, stop sign is here. If a car is stopped here properly, there's another car stopped here. Okay, the stop sign, if you draw an imaginary line, the stop sign like that, this guy is right here. They're both stopped, waiting for clearance. Traffic clears, this guy makes his proper turn, and this guy goes right after him on his coattails. You have a violation of the stop sign.
You see it all the time.
I enforce it, and I win him. He has to stop prior to entering the intersection. See people do it a lot of time.
What happens if you have a scenario where the guy stops here, here comes a car in a westbound direction, no stop sign, all of a sudden, he pulls out and T-bones this guy. You have a motor vehicle accident, which probably happened during the conflict. What can you charge this guy with? Can you charge him with failure to stop at a stop sign?
Yield the right of way.
Failed to yield the right of way. He stopped at the stop sign. He failed to yield the right of way at an intersection. There's a specific charge for that. Perfect ticket. Can't
Even
be-
if you didn't see the car. An element of a violation isn't the intent.
The actual
It's
violation.
the actual violation, just the mere act of doing it. That's all you need.
Any questions with this? You do it once or twice. What I generally do, if I get a complex intersection, I don't do it anymore, but when I was fairly, I take a piece of paper, I draw the intersection. I draw where the police car was, north, south, east, west, stop sign. And then with your notes, you're obviously gonna, you can testify off your drawing based on where you look at the police vehicle. You can testify off looking at the map based on where the signs are and the names of the streets. And then in your notes, you're going to say first observed vehicle 200 feet south of the intersection, continued through, never stopped, came to a complete stop, estimated speed 10 miles an hour. You want the weather conditions, dry and sunny, cloudy, raining, whatever. But if you draw a map, you get up there, and obviously you're going to be a little nervous. When you look down at that, it's going to refresh everything. You can just testify off. And if there's an attorney there, or if the motorist objects to you refreshing your memory with any notes, You can use all of them, do what you want.
Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Simple. Answer all those questions to yourself in front of a judge and you'll get a conviction. Why? I didn't say it. Who? Person driving. What were they driving the car? Where? This intersection. When, the date, the time.
Any question on this? How about a red light? Same intersection. We got two hung lights there. Standard three-phase lights. Target vehicle is traveling in a northbound direction. You're still at this area here. The lights are solid red. Proceeds through the intersection, never comes to a stop. You have to testify rather than to the stop sign, you testify to the signal lights. At the north portion of the intersection, horizontally positioned over, there are two separate three-phase standard signal lights, red, amber, and green. These lights are approximately 18 feet off the surface of the roadway. They face in a southbound direction for northbound motorists. These lights were in proper working order. Then you observe the target vehicle approximately 200 feet. If there are crosswalks, don't forget you want to explain the crosswalks or the stop line. Then continue in a northbound direction. Never slowed, never came to a stop.
How do we know the lights are in proper working order?
Go back and observe.
Exactly. Prior to issuing this summons, I returned back to my location and observed the signal lights to complete three separate phases or two separate phases, and they weren't working properly. If you fail to testify to that, the judge is going to ask you, how do you know these lights were working properly? When you tell you returned back to the intersection, you observed it, and they were working properly. And periodically during the day, I go through the intersection numerous times, and the lights were not malfunctioning and they were working properly. So if you can testify to a stop sign, you can testify to a yield sign, a signal light,
Testify to anything.
just describe the intersection, which way it travels, the name of the streets, and how it's controlled. You describe the controlling device, where you were, where the target vehicle was, statements of the violator. Easy as that. You do it 3 or 4 times and you go under your parole. And you will get a conviction. Questions? Unless you have a million questions.
Further questions?
Oh, my notebook.
You said like misdemeanors, right? You don't physically arrest everybody for misdemeanors, do you? Or-
You can.
You can, you're probably better off not to, unless, my little criteria is, if I can give an appearance ticket, which would be your GPS, an arrest blotter, and you feel pretty confident he's gonna appear, and the guy's a decent person, I'll go with that. If the guy gives you a hard time, of course, you don't have access to records, do you, for warrants?
No. Through the telephone, city records.
You ever run on 29?
Occasionally.
Okay. Check, you know, if the guy's shady, you run a record check on him, you may have an outstanding warrant, then you'll call one of us down, or one of the district cars down. You serve a warrant on him. Try not to make a physical arrest, unless you absolutely have to.
Now say he's got no license or no registration or something. You say, issue the summons, but you don't let him drive away. Obviously, if you let him drive away and he gets in an accident, then you're responsible because you let him go, right?
Is there anybody that you can call to have somebody drive your vehicle, because you're not gonna drive it? If you decide to drive the vehicle, I catch you driving the vehicle, I'll take different action against you, which means you probably be going to jail.
And then one last one, what happens if the car fails to stop? Obviously, we can't chase him off, you know,
You can't pursue it out to the city street.
we can, but not, they don't want us to, from my understanding, is they don't want us to pursue them for a long distance, like all through the city and stuff.
Well, no, city cars will pick up the chase.
You can go to your dispatch and tell them that one of your vehicles are in pursuit of a traffic violator who won't stop. And you can have a conversation with the dispatcher, tell them where you are.
You're going towards Brighton, tell them to notify Brighton or whatever.
And we can follow them until Brighton Carl or
Sure
city
can.
car picks them
Yep.
up, and then we back off and let them take it.
You can also back off before you even get there. You know, if this guy's going 100 miles an hour,
Yeah.
you can go 100 miles an hour after him.
Probably not, it's a judgment, but
Yeah.
if the guy's just doing like 35, 40 miles an hour.
You just don't want to stop. You know, it's again, it's up to your policy, it's your supervisors, what they want you to do, what they don't want you to do.
You don't want to pursue the guy who's doing 25 over the speed limit and end up with a high-speed chase and you smashing up your car and everybody else.
But if you get, what if you get their plates? If you get their plate number, there's no way of issuing a ticket later, or?
You don't know who's
I
driving the car.
don't know who's driving, who knows the plates back in the car?
Not always is it that important to get yourself in a position where you wish you never got involved, and it happens.
How about the new seatbelt law? You write a lot of those, or
We do, yeah.
how would you testify to that? A lot of people will say that when I got pulled over, I took my seatbelt off to get my wallet.
What I do, and I had to try money with a seatbelt, and the guy lied up and down. Every time I stop a violator, generally I'll write for seatbelt if he's speeding. If I'm going down the road and I see a guy in a light, he doesn't have his belt on, I won't write. But if I see a little 3-year-old standing up in the back seat or in the front seat, I'll stop them. Okay, but, you know, you gotta use decent discretion on it. Most speeders I stop that aren't wearing their seatbelts, I write. And what I look for is a vehicle goes past me, I kind of zero in on the harness.
You
Inside.
can see the buckle.
And you can see the silver buckle generally, that's inside there. Okay? And what I testify to is, when I first observed the vehicle, past my location, I was initially stopping it for speeding. I noticed the harness was hanging within inside the left side shoulder of the driver. As I pulled behind the vehicle to stop it, the harness remained within the inside. I could observe the silver buckle. I approached the vehicle. It still was not fastened around the motorist. I had conversation with the motorist. Why aren't you wearing your seatbelt? Well, gee, I just got in the car. I forgot. I make deliveries. Or I stopped one guy yesterday. He says, I don't believe, the guy was like 60-something years old. He says, I don't believe in him. He says, I'm afraid if I go in the water, I'm going to drown. Where I go, it's beautiful notes.
Good testimony.
Yeah, or I won't wear the seatbelt because my brother got killed 2 years ago wearing a seatbelt. The color of this harness and the seatbelt, blue, light blue, gray.
Color shirt, you guys wearing. He's wearing a white shirt and he's got a blue harness. Very simple to see, the straps over it.
So if you go in there and with the statements, and they'll generally tell you, I won't wear it or I forget. And the color of the harness, and how you observed it, and the admission that he was not wearing it. Of course, you go to trial, the guy's going to say he had it out.
Oh, definitely.
And generally, the judge will take your credibility over notice.
Speaking of seatbelts, is anybody not familiar with that section? When to write it and how to write it, who to?
How does it work for an adult in the back seat of the car?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Over 10 in the back seat, you don't need it.
Over 10?
10 and over.
10 or over. In the back seat, you don't need it. 4 to 10 in the back seat, you have to wear the seatbelt.
Under 4, 1, 2, and 3.
Under 4,
Under
could be 3 years and
4. 9 months.
9 months, 1 day before his 4th birthday. If he's under 4, he has to be in an approved child restraint device for backseat people.
How do you know if it's approved?
It says Craig on it, it's probably approved.
It's just a
They all got
makeshift
something
seat.
stamped.
You see those little plastic carriers that people have with little metal things, they're obviously not approved.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
can
right.
get it, no.
Jump seat pedestals that are just to raise them up so they can see out.
Exactly.
Most of them have a slot where the seatbelt goes through. too,
Right, you can tell an approved one.
There's-
Front seat, everybody has to be in seatbelts. From 4 to 16 years of age, 4 to 15, 1 year shy of his 16th birthday, the driver is responsible for that person. If I stop Dave and he's got a 15-year-old kid in the car, and the front seat doesn't have a seatbelt on, and he doesn't have his on, he gets 2 tickets. One for him and one for the passenger under 16. All right, get the passenger's name and get his date of birth, courtroom testimony. Under 4, they have to be in a child restraint seat, for front seat.
Now, as of July 1st, under 4, no child restraint seat, that's 3 penalty points. Not wearing your seatbelt's 1 penalty point. I stopped a guy yesterday in Interloop doing 65 in a Cadillac. He had a passenger in the front with no belt. He didn't have his on. He had 4 kids in the back. And 20 over the limit, I could have taken his license right there if I wrote him all the tickets. That's a sad stop when you can take a guy's license like that.
Anybody need me to go over the seatbelts again?
What about on the new, I call them suicide seatbelts, okay? When you shut the door, your harness automatically comes back. And they don't have the the other part over. You have to do that one manually. Is that or isn't it?
I don't know.
I haven't come across any good.
I know it's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
When it comes over.
I've seen
I
it.
have one.
Yeah. What,
You couldn't see
you mean it comes across, but,
The shoulder belt comes across
Automatically when
okay.
you shut the door.
and you're not buckling here?
what the seat does.
I'd say it wasn't.
Well,
Oh, but if it's not buckled in, it has to be buckled in.
Okay, the way the law reads, the only thing that, the seat belt is just this, here. You don't have to have a harness, it's just a belt, is the way the law reads.
Oh, so there's people that ride around with the harness under their arm because they don't like it up here.
And if it's not buckled,
But as long as
oh,
this
as
is
long as it's
buckled,
buckled around their belly, yeah.
but this is under their arm.
Yeah, that's okay.
Even though it's an automatic device on the vehicle?
No, back to you, I've had a guy with the harness not on, underneath, and I rode him for that, and I got a conviction in TBB.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Without, and it had the belt on
Had the
it?
belt on, didn't have the harness. Not that, put the harness behind him.
What are they going with, the fact that it's issued equipment and they
Right,
must,
it's
okay.
designed to go over the front of you.
He must
in
give
this
you a-
fashion.
Did he give you a hard time?
No, it was, I rode him.
And that's
No, have a
because
good
it is
day.
all one piece, so it's all considered one belt.
You might find,
For kids over 4, if they sit in the front seat with the harness, a lot of times it comes
Yeah.
across their face. If that's behind them, is it?
Cut their head off.
again, what we're going back to discretion.
Okay.
Obviously, if they keep the harness from, they're gonna get hurt. At least they're somewhat fastened
Okay.
down.
If I stop the cars and their 2-year-olds are in the back seat and the parents have them in a little buckle, or in the buckle, I won't bother.
Use discretion.
Yeah.
You might wanna tell them, put them in it for their own safety. You've lived most of your life, give them a chance.
You know what section that is for adult seat
There-
belt, front seat?
1229 C3
1229 C3.
for
That'd be for the driver.
driver and over 60 in the front seat.
For child, no child restraint seat, back seat is 1229 C2.
Right, then there's C1,
Please try 1831.
right in B&T. You might come across a car that doesn't have seat belts. What do you do?
Before a certain year.
If they're manufactured over 1962,
A good section no on is 383. Tells you what year cars have to be equipped with what. Guy goes, well, I don't have a seat belt, or it's not working.
broken.
Or you come across it, it's not broken, I want to wear it, but it's not broken. Okay. You're right under section 383, it has to be in proper working order. Both the seat belt and the anchorage assembly, male, female part, they have to be in proper working order. If you're not, you're right for them, you get the conviction.
When I have somebody say the seatbelt's broken, I say, well, why don't you try to put it on and show them? And 99% of the time, it's not broken.
Let me check,
It's
yeah.
just an excuse they try to use.
Sure.
And you just note that on your tickets.
A vehicle that isn't required to have the seatbelt,
You don't write them.
Yeah, right.
they get away with it.
You can tell them, you can suggest, man, I'm also, being sincere, you might want to install it, you can do that. You're more likely to get killed without a seatbelt than you are with one. It's up to them. I've come across that.
Does the part about the child restraint seats make the same exception for older cars?
Yeah, you have to have a seatbelt, or you have to have a child
seat, even
restraint.
though
That's
you
how
have a
they're
car that
fastened.
doesn't require a seatbelt.
Yeah, you have to have.
That's how they're fastened.
On the tickets there, where you say you put the expiration date, registration and stuff, if the guy's suspended or something, would you note that date on the ticket somewhere?
Your notes.
Always.
Or
Whenever,
something else, you wouldn't have to put on a regular ticket, you just put for suspended license and then,
For aggravated unlicensed operation of motor vehicle, that's what you're talking about, right?
yeah,
Suspended
well, they had a
license.
registration. Yeah,
Make it all part of your notes.
make it part of your notes, where it says description of violation is what the T-SLED manual says, if the license, driver's license is expired, they want you to put the expiration date in there.
Which is gonna be on your birthday that year.
But like for a 306B expired inspection, what I usually write, I'll put expired inspection 3 of 88. I'll write that right on the ticket.
or suspended.
Suspended 9/11/87 failed to answer. I put that on my own copy because there's not really that much room anymore to put them on there.
Part of your notes, because you're gonna have to testify.
Any expiration of anything, 10-day temporary, it's expired, I say, make a notation, because when you go to testify, if it goes to trial, you gotta tell the judge when it expired. Well, I wrote them for an expired inspection, I think it was in some, it was a blue sticker 1987, well, which month? You better know.
Would it be wise to maybe take, like in a case like that, where somebody's, you write them today, their license is suspended, tomorrow they go get it reinstated, it'd be wise to maybe take a printout of the.
No, because they have record at DMV, at TVB, they'll punch it right in and say, oh, you renewed it the day after you got issued the summons.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
And you don't need that copy that shows that you actually renewed.
No, they have all that information right there. When stopping violators, and during your conversation, don't promise anybody a disposition if you don't know what it's gonna be. Don't say, well, geez, if you get your tires fixed within 24 hours, the judge is gonna dismiss it. Or if your inspection is taken care of, I'm sure the judge will dismiss it. Don't promise anybody anything, because they won't. On equipment, if you give them a slip within 24 hours.
Do you have those forms, defective equipment slips?
Yeah, okay, but as far as inspections, don't say, well, if you get it inspected, then you'll probably, don't promise them anything. Because you go to court and, well, geez, the officer said that if I got it re-inspected, you're gonna drop the charge. Then you look like a jerk.
If you give them a defective equipment slip, has anybody not seen them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we down there?
I have.
If you give it to them, make a note of it. That you gave them. And you explain to them what to do. Read the directions from the back.
Is that mandatory if you're writing them off for equipment?
No.
violation?
It's courtesy.
It's a courtesy.
Being courteous.
I generally don't carry them and hand them out, it's just
I do.
much more that you have to deal with.
I'm courteous, so I never know.
You are, aren't you?
Now, is it a requirement that you tell the person, instruct them about the court date and where to apply, or, I mean, like if the guy goes to court and misses court date and says, well, geez, I didn't know when I was supposed to go, even though it's on the ticket, he can't say that the officer didn't explain it.
Everything's on a ticket.
Ticket's self-explanatory on the back, and I turn it over and I'm telling them that, and they can just read from top to bottom.
What's the
I'll
fine?
explain exactly
Fines are on
what
the
it is.
back.
Because I noticed one day, the one ticket I wrote a couple days ago, I had no chance to tell her. She got fed up, just took the ticket and rolled out the window before I got a chance to say
One
it.
polite,
day?
Yeah.
Have a good day.
There's times that you stand there, you have
As
the,
far as the judge is concerned, who got knocked is your supervisor's problem.
that's why I always hold on to the license or registration. This is what I do, this is the license or registration, this is the ticket, here's your summons and da-da-da-da-da-da. Still holding on to the license or registration. Because if you go and just ask backwards, they may drive off on you, they've done it to me. So what you do, it's ticket first, then here's your license and registration.
If they don't want to hear anything about the ticket.
If they don't even want to take anything, a lot of times they'll just sit there, they won't even take anything. I'll just explain it to them and I'll just set it up on their dashboard and I'll just drive carefully, have a nice day, and I'll walk away.
On their lap.
Don't get in an argument with them, it's not worth it. If they want to argue with you, look, the ticket's self-explanatory. If you want to go to trial, the date I assign you is such and such a date. We'll go before the judge and let him make a determination. Drive carefully, have a nice day. Don't get upset, don't show that you're, because you want it, a lot of times you do. Maintain your cool, be professional.
But you can't say I'm nice name.
Say that.
Oh, yeah,
Still
they
smirk
might
when
take
it's
it the
okay.
wrong way.
Have a nice day.
Drive
No,
carefully.
just be sincere and be professional, and don't get upset. Don't let them get you riled, because then they're getting to you.
That's it.
And when you start showing it, then you're not
And they
professional.
got you.
Yeah, because this lady's questioning my authority and all this stuff. I
Hey.
just took the license with her.
You want to contest the ticket, the directions on the back, tell you how to go about doing it.
But if she's got the registration card, okay, if she's not fixed in the window, you can still write her for that then. right?
Yes.
That's
All right, well, I was told that it's still legally registered, so you can't write her for that.
It is legally registered.
But it's not
But it's
fixed.
gotta have, it's
Section 403.
gotta have proof of the proper registration to fix their window.
She had a month-old sticker on
Yeah.
the window that was expired.
Stuff like that,
Again, we go back to discretion.
let it slide. If it's a year old, if the guy's a jerk, if you want to write them, write them. I generally don't write those unless they give
If
me
it's a
a
serious violation, I don't, very rarely I'll let somebody go.
How would that apply to somebody still having blue and yellow license plates? Let's say,
As of October,
let's say they were issued the new plates
Yeah.
on last year's renewal and they just renewed again this year and still got the yellow
you
plates.
come across that, I'll say, where's your new place? Obviously, you should have had them by now. Well, my husband died, or we're in a divorce, and I just haven't had time to put them on.
If the registration shows the new plates, and
Correct,
not, they
proper
show
plates.
both of them. But if you have a registration that shows the new plates, and he has the old plates on,
Proper
that were
plates.
once affixed to that car, or registered that car, now you got illegal plates.
Improper, 4024, improper. But I think, I read where it's October 1st, all the new Liberty plates should be on there.
Yeah, they're supposed to be just
July 1st, I think it was, but
the
they
last
extended
month
to
that they had
October.
the dirt job. A couple of times I've seen cars that on last year's registration, they got issued new plates and now the registration's come due again this year.
Write them in proper
and they
place.
still haven't gotten the plates.
If you want to write them in proper place. Again, discretionary, the guy who gives you a hard time, you write him for everything you can. If the guy's nice, you let him slide, write him for the stop sign.
As far as note taking, I've had occasion to write quite a few speeding tickets, and when I was speaking to the violator, I would ask him, do you know what the speed limit is? And I would indicate that in my notes that I asked him, and they would say, well, I think it's 35 miles an hour, which was improper in the place I was talking about. And I say, well, do you know how fast you were going? And they say 40 and a 30, you know. And so I would say, no, you were actually going 47 miles an hour, 30 mile an hour zone. When I went back to the car, I was always indicate what they thought they were doing.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
They convicted themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
they can go and say, Judge, I wasn't going 47 miles an hour. And I get up and say, well, Judge, they indicate to me that they knew the speed limit was 35 or 30 or whatever, and that they were going 40.
By all means, I just never get into the speeding. You also have to testify to where the speed limit signs are posted.
Right, I was gonna say, are there roads that aren't posted for speed?
They're all posted fine.
They are, okay, because you might come across a road that, say if there's a road on your complex that's not posted, but you know that the speed limit is 20 miles an hour. Well, how can you testify to it? Upon entering the complex from any direction, there are signs that tell you. the
All
speed
I
limit
was
is
trying to
20.
say was that you should, anything that they say,
Oh,
Exactly. Yeah.
put it in
Any
the notes.
That's like
incriminating
if
statements, yes.
it's like if they blow the stop sign and they say, yeah, I saw it, or no, I didn't see it.
That's great. They didn't see it, it's there, you can prove it's there.
They admit to going through the intersection, and they admit they didn't see it. What do you,
They
they're
can
done.
prove it themselves.
Right. Unless the sign was obstructed.
Any other questions on any?
Is there any appeals process for a ticket in any situation?
For the violator, yes, there is.
I believe it's $15 they have to pay for appeals.
Where does it go to a next?
Goes to Albany, and there's a panel that will listen to, everything's taped when you testify over there. And they'll listen to the whole portion of the testimony.
No, the side.
on the side. And again, if your courtroom testimony is good, they won't win. We never find out. They never let us know if it is in fact appealed or what the decision for everything. No process for that. They'll let us know.
What happens if you make a mistake?
On the, amendments, sorry to brought that up. If you make any mistakes on the summons, when you get up there, Officer David Cansdale, Rochester Police Department, and you're obviously ready to go to trial. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to make a motion to amend whatever your mistake is. The date, the ticket reads 8/30/88. I amended to read 8/31/88. And then the judge will ask the motorist, do you have any problem with that? And the judge, or the motorist will say, yes, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm pleading not guilty. And the judge will overrule and go in your favor, because you can amend it. You can make any amendments.
Or what happens if like you make another mistake, say the person reading the computer misreads the computer, tells you the license is suspended or something. You write it for that, you go back, check the printout, find out that it wasn't. Would you try to stop it right there, or would you go to court and say, look?
They'll go to court because they're gonna know
Yeah.
that it's not. Then you can go to court and say, yeah, I learned, or you can say, no, I didn't, I was told,
Yeah,
and
if
he'll
they're
punch
in
it up. I wouldn't go in there and say, yeah, I learned later that it wasn't suspended. I would say, I was told by, dispatchers, we ran a computer check, he was suspended. He'd look it up, say, no, it wasn't suspended. It happened to me. If it's not suspended, okay, no problem.
Mistakes happen.
Yeah, they do.
And things happen,
And
as
they
long
understand it.
as long as they find out,
Or you can write a letter to the motorist to disregard the ticket that in fact it was an error through Department of Motor Vehicles and the dispatcher. Okay, guys have done that, I know.
unless he's perky, then you let them go to court, that's the fun of it.
Yeah, you do
So you have to take a day off from work, right?
Yeah, waste his
Unless you
time.
get your overtime, right?
That's the one.
There you go.
That's money's first.
Mark, you just want to touch on the topic?
No, no.
Okay, good.
Someone's looked over.
Okay, you
Where's
can say
it?
that.
Parking tickets. They have to be completely completed. It's real simple. V&T states what has to be on a ticket, and everything on here has to be on there. If it's not, the ticket becomes invalid. Very simple. The license plate number, don't skip a line, don't put a dash or anything, just put everything there. 1, 2, 3, ABC, use up to 6 boxes. Date of expiration, very important. New York, the state, if it's a passenger, kind of body type, the color, very important. The year and make of the vehicle, very important. Place of occurrence, again, wherever you are on here, if it's on a complex, it's everything 1600 South Avenue or whatever. The date, time, regular time, not military time, and the appropriate violation, followed by your signature, IBM, and the enforcement section, which is 4, the Highland section. The tickets have to be properly completed. There was a court ruling here in Rochester a couple years ago where a guy had numerous amount of outstanding parking tickets. He contested them in court that they weren't properly completed according to vehicle and traffic law. He won. Same thing happened to me. I was telling during a break. I received 5 parking tickets in New York City. I contested them by mail because they were improperly completed. One lacked the registration, date of expiration for registration. One had the wrong one on there, and one was missing the color of the car. The other 2 were just plate number was wrong, so I didn't care. I wrote a letter, made a copy of V&T, forwarded, and I came back not guilty.
What happens if the person pleads guilty, or
Then
goes
they'll
and
pay
pays
the
the
fine.
most improper fill out?
They'll pay the fine.
Because I had that problem, I wrote a ticket and I forgot to put the registration expiration, and I found out later that their boss went and paid it, and then told them to get another one that they'll pay it.
Yeah, well, it's, if they pay it, they pay it. A lot of people don't know it, but it has to be properly completed.
Just don't go around telling people.
Right, that's right. Date of expiration is very important.
Now, on handicap zones, that sticker, or that thing that they get the permit, it has to be completely properly filled out, right?
Right.
Yeah,
It has to be issued to that car to a certain person.
There has to be a plate number over in that little square.
I'm not familiar with the permit actually. If it's gotta be properly completed, it's gotta be properly
If
completed.
it's blank, then it's not.
If Dave is handicapped, which I know he has, I can't tell you here, it's personal. He has a handicapped car, I drive it, and I park it in the handicap zone, the permit's invalid. And car get a ticket.
Same as if you got a blank one that someone else gave.
Well, I don't know the actual violations. Can't do
A lot
that.
of them don't have configurations.
It's not bad. I'm sure they gotta have the,
There's a picture of a wheelchair, you put that side up, all that shows is a permit number
And who
and the
issued it?
issuing town.
Yeah.
Who it's issued to is on the back, where you can't see it.
When in doubt, just, let it go, if it's obviously a sticker for handicap, just give them special.
if you want, you see a guy park a handicap zone, he gets out and he's, jogging to his place of business, come here, let me see the name on the back of the permit. Guy's walking normal, inquire, is this your car? Permit issued to you.
Just touching real fast on note-taking and courtroom testimony. On the testimony, just a suggestion, maybe set up a little chart because you have your little, what do you usually, failure to stop at a stop sign, wrong way in a one-way street, and fail to yield. You have a yield sign?
Yeah.
Fail to yield. It wouldn't hurt to probably set up a little fill in a blank type thing for those certain intersections for failure to stop, failure to yield, driving the wrong way in a one-way street, where everybody can get a pattern of testifying, and testifying properly, covering all the elements. It's something, we can sit down with you if you want, we can help you fill one out and write one up, and then you can Xerox it off and leave the blanks for the date and time, the plate number and everything. Whereas the officer can go in there and just just read it, more or less, until he gets familiar with testifying without it. Because a lot of the guys do that.
It's their own script.
Speaking of those forms, is this supporting deposition for 511 fairly?
It looks really the same.
This is the one that I gotta make a new one.
That's 512. That's the other one.
511 section.
It looks like a good.
Fairly
Looks
simple
good.
to fill in the blank. Is there a question we had that day when we were filling it out? What to put in one of the blocks? Where that reads?
you're aware that you don't have to fill one out for third.
Not for the traffic infractions,
Yeah.
only for the unclassified.
TVB is not a court, you do not have to supply supporting depositions. If you get a letter from a motorist that's been issued a ticket requesting a supporting deposition that's returnable to the Traffic Violations Bureau, you do not have to supply them. People versus Sully is a court case in the city of Rochester. We get that occasionally. They want supporting depositions for speeding tickets, and we won't give it to them. And then they go to court and they object and they want it dismissed because I requested supporting deposition and I never received one from the officer. And the judge will cite People versus Sully that we aren't required. It's an administrative court, not a court's criminal court.
People try and,
Sure, you can't blame them. Sometimes they're going to lose their license. More so, you're going to see a lot of trials now with these new points, mostly on speeders, which is fine.
Anybody got any questions on T-sleds?
You do it.
Aggravated license? Seatbelts? Courtroom testimony?
Now we're going to have a mock trial. We're going to put 2 officers that come up here.
Testify.
No, I'm only kidding. We won't do that to you.
We do to our recruits.
Practice makes perfect, that's all I can tell you. The more you do it, the more you feel comfortable. After 17 years, I still get a little knot in my stomach when I go over there. Just because you want to do a good job. And it's natural. Every officer that's up there, if he's not nervous or he doesn't have that little feeling, he's lying to you.
What you might want to do too, I don't know if you can make arrangements, is come hear some of our testimonies. Then mine, Dave's, Dean Feliciano.
we've done that in the past.
Yeah, you get a feel of what's got to be done and what's needed, and it's real simple.
Every Monday at 8:30 I'm there, Mark's there at 10:30.
Tuesday at 10:30.
How many people do you have in your unit?
About 15, 17 now. We just grabbed about 4 more on the transfer. We lost a lot to retirees and transfers, and we were low for a while. I think we're 1 short of being, 2 short of being full strength. And now we have the motorcycles and the cars right now. Guess that's it. Unless there's another question.
Did you want to do a quick mock trial? We'll take 5 minutes.
Yeah, but we'd have to draw up a scenario with something.
It's up to you. Because I think that's one of the hardest parts. It's kind of easy to fill in the blank, and the hard part's actually going down.
Well, okay,
You
why
know
don't
what you do? Why don't we have somebody come up here and testify?
Why don't you take a
All right,
take a 10-minute break? We're going to draw a scenario of an intersection of a stop sign.
we'll have a female come in and testify.
So we have 4 of them.
Yeah, exactly, mistake.
Got myself. Let the practice testify.
I'll swear it in.
Swear at me or swear at me?
Both.
Thank you.
Set it up the way you want it.
And we're not going to interrupt you when you start testifying. All right?
All right.
And you all decide whether the motorist should be guilty or not guilty.
Not guilty.
Don't forget, he's got to have
Quite
a clear,
basically, if he had
convincing.
done something to deserve it, he wouldn't have been bothered by the officer.
There's a rope out in the hall waiting for him.
Those notes that you made after the, okay, it's good, okay.
Service rules. We're done. Like they really have a blackboard in the park.
Sometimes I wish there was.
Sometimes they'll ask you to draw that, you're not being clear enough.
Yeah, on paper.
Need a violator or
And
anything?
then, well, you sit there sketching the stop signs on the spread.
Are you ready to testify? Summons number WA 0586412, Ruth. Is it?
I ran a copy of it. That was my first ticket, so I was nervous. I didn't press right now.
Thank you. Please step up, and Officer D. Hill. Officer Officer Hill, did you issue this summons to Miss Vecchio?
Yes, sir.
And it was on what date? On July 29th, 1988 for failure to stop at a stop sign. Mrs. Vecchio, how do you plead to this? I plead not guilty. Officer, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Officer, raise your right hand. Promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
State your name and your affiliation.
My name's Officer Hill, New York State Peace Officer with the Office of Mental Health. Presently working at Rochester Psychiatric Center, 1600 South Avenue in the city of Rochester.
Officer Hill, will you please explain the situation that arose in the issuance of issuing this summons to this moment?
The date. On 7/29/88, I was in road patrol, marked patrol car, license number 88, or car number 881566, marked blue and white police vehicle. I was doing traffic control, sitting at an intersection of Nab Troutman and Service Road, 1600 South Avenue. My car was faced on the Service Road, facing north, approximately 100 feet from the intersection, when I observed a red vehicle, red 87 Plymouth, license number, New York license plate, X-ray Nora 448, heading westbound, or heading eastbound on Nab Troutman Drive. I observed vehicle approximately 150 feet from the intersection. The vehicle was traveling approximately 20 miles an hour, did not make any attempt to stop, made a left pass through the stop sign, made a left-hand turn heading north onto the service road. At this time, I turned on my emergency lights, proceeded through the intersection and pulled the vehicle over on the service road. I approached the vehicle. The driver indicated she knew that she passed through the intersection. I asked her for a license, registration, and insurance card, and proceeded back to the vehicle, in which turn I issued her a summons for failure to stop the stop sign.
Officer, did this occur within the city of Rochester, New York?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, pretty much, he left a lot out.
Okay, you as,
Oh, I didn't describe, okay.
you as judges, how would you decide on? I made guilty. Oh, we all follow the boss, right?
Well, I feel that I would say guilty because to me he seems very unsure, you know. Still there's a lot of open spaces, okay? Was it a clear day? Was it a rainy day? What time did
But
it
you're saying
happen,
guilty to
you
the
know?
motorist? The motorist is guilty?
No,
That's
well,
what I asked.
We know you are guilty then.
I mean, not guilty, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, how
I'm
many
sorry.
guilty? The motorist is guilty.
The key part of the testimony is when he said that the motorist stated that she knew she went through the intersection.
He didn't state that.
No, he did.
You did.
Okay.
And I might, if I was a judge, I might ask the officer.
We don't ask. It's not a judge's job to elicit information. They don't have to do that. Yeah, she admitted to going through the intersection. Obviously, that's where I had to go. Did she admit to going through the stop sign?
What stop sign?
Okay,
Establish the stop sign area.
right, exactly.
He indicated she went through the intersection. He
Exactly.
did not indicate, she said she did not stop at the stop
Right.
sign. That's what I was saying.
That's what I just brought out.
He didn't clarify what he was.
I admit I went through the intersection, I'm sure I did.
Past the stop sign and went through the intersection.
We didn't do that. Do you realize that you passed through an intersection without stopping at the stop sign? Well, was there a stop sign? No, I didn't stop at all. Okay, that's what you need, right? You have to, motorist is not guilty. Hands down. This motorist would be not guilty. The things that I picked up that you left out, okay? You're stationary on the service road, okay? Where? Okay, I'm at the southeast corner, I'm facing northbound. clearly observing the intersection in front of me. Describe the intersection. Which way does things go? Right, you left out. The judge's got nothing. Location of the stop sign in particular. Okay, it's located at the southwest corner. Faces westbound. The sign is clear and unobstructed to the view of eastbound motorists on Troutman Road Drive. The standard stop sign, octagon-shaped sign, 8 sides. Red background. Did you get into that? White lettering.
He didn't describe the sign at all.
Clearly states stop.
I didn't say it.
Where's stop sign? Stop sign is located approximately 10 feet west of the intersection. It's located on the south side of the roadway. May get into that. These are little things that, it doesn't take long to realize.
What would have happened for a scenario just like the judge would have been asking you questions, he'd be stopping you after you finished, you'd pause. Officer, where is the sign? And you'd have to tell him. Officer, can you describe the sign? You'd have to tell him. He shouldn't have to ask you these things.
Right. He might not ask you these things.
Depends on the mood that he's in.
Right. The judge in particular, I'm not going to mention her name, all right? He might not ask you nothing. Are you done, officer? Yeah. He might just tell you right then, boom. How do you plead to this? I plead not guilty. The motorist says not guilty. Well, case, closed testimony, not guilty. And you're going to go, what? Person opposite myself. These are things that you got to pick out.
Just because he didn't get enough information.
Right. And he might not ask you that. You might get another judge. I'm not going to mention his name afterward. That, he might tell you. He might coach you. Okay, then you go, okay, so where's the stop sign located? Well, it's located in the southwest corner, faces westbound. It's clear and unobstructed eastbound motorists. That's all you need. Then describe it. 8-sided sign. 3x3, red background, white lettering, it's called stop.
See, that's what's nice about drawing a map.
And you can look right at it, and you can tell the story.
And when you see stuff like this, when you see west and east and north and south, it triggers you. I got to tell them it runs north and south, east and west. The sign, southwest, I got to tell them that the sign's in the southwest corner. It's a mechanism to trigger, this is what I got to tell them. So if you draw a map and you put all this stuff in, you're going to cover everything. Weather conditions, note that on your tickets, but you don't have to testify to it.
He'll ask you if it's like the motor says it was raining, I didn't see it.
Was it raining? Well, according to my notes, at the time of the traffic stop, the roads were wet, but it was cloudy, it wasn't raining.
You need the elements of the charge. If you don't have them, you'll find no guilt. But if you get them, they're simple. These are little things that you'll be able to, now when you have to go there, you can remember that, well, I need these 4 or 5 things to get this conviction.
There's a lot of things about that.
Yeah. You learn who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Any problems with this?
Anybody disagree that the motorist is still guilty?
Well, it still boils down to the judge's decision, though. I mean, if he left some stuff out, then...
The judge will be fair, and more than likely, if he's doubtful, not guilty.
Clear and convincing.
Right.
Well, I seen a case one time where the judge was, the officer was giving his testimony, and the defendant was like shaking his head like this, and rolling his eyes, and you can hear him mumbling like, Jesus, like, wasn't agreeing. And the judge was looking more at the victim's demeanor, the defendant's demeanor, than he was the officer. And as soon as the officer got done testifying, he's guilty. It was like he was fed up with the defendant.
You'd be surprised. You can testify, and you can say to myself, there's no way I'm going to win this.
Yeah.
And you win it, and you go, how did I do that?
Video camera with you.
Yeah.
That's what I said,
But
I'm
you need,
in front of my car.
you need the elements of the charge to establish a conviction.
Questions? No questions. I guess we're done.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You guys have any questions or anything, just give us a call.
Can you give me